Gentlemen, here we are in beautiful, deserted Las Vegas. There's nobody out there. What's going on with Vegas, man? The COVID's getting crazy. So I know you guys are in town doing your 3-day company planning, budgeting meeting. That Gary is kind of one of Gary's signature events, really, right? That 3-day?
Yeah, we've been doing it for a little over 20 years.
Yeah.
And, it keeps growing. So it's work I think that every company probably needs to do.
Yeah.
That's probably why it's popular.
Yeah. So I want to talk about what you teach in that class, what you guys have been in the last few days, the COVID restrictions here in Vegas, where you smoke your cigar, put the mask back on, smoke your cigar, and so on. But first, Gary, I want you to talk to us about this fine rye whiskey that, by the way, yours truly found it for you today.
Yeah.
You did give me good instructions about what to get, but just so you know, I was the mule.
You are like Carl Malone, the mailman, the delivery man, bringing the boss hog, and not just the boss hog, but the scientific, the Samurai Scientific. That is a very special whiskey because it's hard to find. It's expensive. But on your budget, it's not really expensive. I mean, the way you roll in Vegas.
Can you imagine the pressure of going and getting something specifically? Yeah. And there were 2 things specifically, both of which I delivered the goods on.
Yes, you did.
The pressure in that liquor store of like, I'm here for a very, very special person who needs these 2. Please have them. And then don't let me get the wrong thing. Right? A lot of pressure, right? So, anyway, yes, magnificent. Obviously,
it's powerful. I mean, this is one of those rye whiskeys that it's not sweet like most ryes.
Right.
It's got a very strong, powerful, and very, very. When you feel the heat,
you feel the heat.
This is one that you're going to sip on, drink slow, and enjoy and relax.
And just for our viewers and listeners' edification, it was a $500 bottle, and the reason it's half empty is the crew. Just so it's clear.
Yeah, because we haven't touched ours yet.
So, Gary, talk to us about this 3-day kind of signature Gary Ellis event that you do. Really, what is the purpose of it? What are you teaching? What can attendees hope to take away? What are some of the high points? Because, the whole financial management part of the HVAC companies tends to be pretty weak, and you strengthen people on that topic. So talk to us about that class and what folks can get out of it, and maybe just give some good advice while we're here.
Yeah, so the class is really about creating an operating plan that's specific or custom to each individual company. So Drew's company is at a different place maybe than my company is, and your company is yet at a different place. So we try to give everybody a framework where they can break down their problems, their pain points, and then put that into an operating plan. Not a business plan. So we don't want to be going to the bank. That's not the point. We want to be able to put that down on a piece of paper to align the organization. So the biggest challenge I think contractors face is getting everybody on the same page and doing it the way like the owner would want it to be done. So I think that's the first thing that we try to do. We're generally pretty successful at that skill. The second thing we do is we do try to tie the financial side. We're in the business to make money. So time and wealth freedom is, an aspiration that a lot of us want. And so the idea of creating time and wealth freedom doesn't just happen. So we try to give them the financial acumen to say, if you're here and you have to get over here, what are the steps in between? And we talked about it this week. It's really sort of a 5 to 7 year process that we break down into 1-year periods. And so each time we do this, we've had probably 50% of the companies this week have been in the class before, and they've made progress, and they're looking at different things now. And so the financial side of it is very much pricing, teaching budgeting, dual overhead, GP per man day, break even, understanding how many service agreements that you can, capacity. So there's a lot of stuff in there that's stuff that you don't talk about on a day-to-day basis. We want to sell, we want to install, we want to service. So we try to get ahead of the curve so that we can do all that stuff really well. So it's a lot of fun. We had a great time. Drew did a great job. We had an awesome group. It's about 40 companies in the room. And that's a big group, but it was an outstanding event. And we certainly, might have stayed out late 1 or 2 nights. I'm not commenting on any of those types of things, especially since the cameras are rolling.
Yeah, well, no, I just got to Vegas today. You guys have been here all week. I know, Drew, that you come out and you support Gary in this event and kind of answer questions and show people how to transfer files and different things. I mean, what are your big takeaways when you sit there you know, as a consultant yourself, but just as a learner in the room, you know, right?
Yeah.
So taking yourself out of the consultant expert role and just like I'm in the room, I'm watching Gary for, 3 days. What are some of the key takeaways that you see that dealers can really benefit from?
Well, number one, you got to make sure Gary's got his triple grande, hot mocha, no whip, no fat, coffee.
It's quad.
It's quad. Well, when you go vente, it's quad.
Morning squad.
Yeah,
afternoon triple.
So you got to make sure he's got that. Otherwise, if G-Man's not happy, no one's happy, right?
That's true.
So,
that's very true.
No, but seriously, it's a great event. I've had the honor and privilege to sit in on it, and it's cool because it is different every time. He comes in battle tested, from the last event or the last, several gigs that he's worked with, people, and he has all these great stories, and these stories are such amazing teaching points to bring to life the concepts and strategies and tactics that he is teaching, and so then people have these aha moments. Some of the things he got into that were just, to me, highlights for the class this time around. That where maybe previous classes, they got ahas on other things. He did a thing on getting specific. So day one, he just went around the room and had everybody introduce themselves and asked them, like, what are they looking to get out of this? Why are they here? And they all came in with these superfluous or nebulous statements. And he made them own those statements and say, okay, hold on. You want to be profitable? You want to be more profitable? Oh, you want to be more efficient, right? And it's like, how much more efficient? How much more profitable? Where are you, right? So he made them get down to the specifics. And I thought that was a really important point because so many contractors, they have these nebulous objectives and they don't quantify them. If I said I wanted to be more profitable, if I gave you $1 more, you're more profitable,
yep.
Right? So helping them, number one, own the objective out of the gate was important. Number two, he got into, and these are no specific order, but number two he got into was helping them see how to build their service rate. A very simplistic model. I don't think we got to do the curve to show them. I know you looked at it, but I mean, in fact, it would have been embarrassing to show the curve based on what I had heard. I mean, how some of these guys were like below $100 an hour, for the flat rate. And some of them were still doing time and material. So, but he helped them see a quick, formula today that allowed them to see where they needed to be, flat rate. And I don't know, what about 70% of the room needed to increase their prices?
Oh no, pretty much everybody said they need to. The only one was Armin. Armin said he didn't. But
and George said he could.
330 was sort of the number that everybody arrived at, based on where they need to be at minimum. And I think Armin was probably at 331 or something. Everybody else was below that. So you got to come up to that place. And you can go beyond that, of course. But
yeah. Right. And you looked at so we asked everybody to kind of submit their numbers just so we could see what they were. I looked at a handful of them as I was collecting them, and there were a lot of them that were well below 200. And so I thought that was great. Also helping them see, how to do promotions and how to build that into your cost structure where you're not just basically taking a bath in the middle of a year, at one point in the year when you're trying to sell things and, in the shoulder season to make things happen. It's you get your customers throughout the course of the year to help pay for that, and showing them how they build that into their budget for the year. So I thought those were a couple really cool things that, at least in this class, that he helped people see. But the most important thing I think is, like he said, is they're working specifically. They're told to show up with their numbers, and they're working specifically with their numbers. Some of them have multiple people from their teams here, and it's really a workshop. I mean, there are working sessions where they're working on their content, and then they come back with real questions, and they come back with, hey, I got this idea, I got this opportunity, I got this thing going on. How would I do this? And I'm now starting to see some guys, because I've done this with a couple of years with him, who have come through before. He has seen multiples come through, but it was pretty neat because I see some that were lost, right? Completely lost the first time I met them, but now it's like they're asking advanced questions, right? Because they came in here, but now they're here.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I don't know, we figured it's probably about a 3 to 5 year window that we think, depending on the company, where you'll eventually get all of it. And I'm not saying you don't need this, because he'll always come, he's always updating the tools, and he'll come in with the next level of stuff. But I mean, they get those foundational principles in place. So it's pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, when you talk about that initial phase of getting people to get specific with what they're trying to accomplish, I couldn't help but think back to Napoleon Hill, right? Definite purpose.
Definite purpose.
Right? The number one lesson in Think and Grow Rich is have a definite purpose, a specific thing you're trying to accomplish. So Gary, I'd just like to ask you, you've got the responsibility, really, people come to you, 40, 50 companies at a time, and they're thirsty, right? They're hungry, like, we got to figure this out, right? How important is it, do you think, to get them focused on a specific thing they're trying to accomplish?
I think it's the primary discussion that we start with, which is, there's this big group of items that you have to deal with, and how do you prioritize that? I think that's always the choice. None of us have enough time, so it always is a priority issue. I mean, how do I prioritize which is the most important use of the time? So we basically tell them, 1 to 3 items and not more than 5, and that's it. So we'll go through a situational analysis, and so you might have 20, 30, 40, 50 items on the, hey, I want to do this list, and we make them prioritize it to A1 through A5, and we basically talk through, these are the 5 items. Don't mess around with the other stuff. It's not that then it's not important. The definitive purpose are these 5 items. These are the ones that you chose, so let's knock those out. And then you can come back and do some more later,
right.
So if you're an overachiever like Drew and you climb mountains, right? So you can do maybe 7 or 8, and that's fantastic. But somebody like me, 3 items is on my list. That's what I'm going to do.
1,000-mile journey, right? Single step.
Yep.
Just getting started with the basics. One thing I wanted to touch on, Andy Mitchell, who does all our video production and whatnot, was wearing a Carl Sagan T-shirt today, or is wearing. He actually still is wearing it. And I couldn't. It's Vegas. Hey, what happens here, stays here. But you were talking about kind of a decision-making framework that Carl Sagan wrote. I'm not familiar with it. I'd love to read it. You said that you give it to your closest friends, so I'm really hoping that I'll get it soon.
Actually, I said I give it to the people that I like.
Oh.
And neither one of us have it.
But his Facebook group has it.
Right.
But 1 or 2 takeaways from that, because that sounds really, really interesting, this whole decision-making process and different things.
Yeah, the basis of the article is decision-making. He calls it the baloney detection kit. He used a different word in real life, but on the web, that's what it is. You can search that. It's part of his book. He actually wrote a book, and it's an excerpt, and it's probably the most important chapter. So what it is it's 20 rules for making sure that you're able to take the emotion out of your decision-making and actually put it into context. And I think that's the struggle with business entrepreneurs my businesses are personal to me. Like when we had a meeting this morning, and it wasn't going that great. And Andrew's texting me, and I'm texting him, and we're going back and forth, and we're just out of our normal place. Like we're emotional because it's personal. And so from a business point of view, that's usually not a good place to be. Right. And so what he does is he writes the ideas, hey, this is what you need to do in order to be sure that you make the best decisions. So the best decision makers are people that use facts and data points. And one of the things he talked about is there's a difference between truth and accuracy. So it's entirely possible that you believe something to be true, and you really do believe it. And so it is a truth for you, but it does not mean it's accurate. So the idea that he talks about is, hey, you got to verify these things, data points. So for the class, for us, especially when it comes to budgeting, break even, looking at your pricing, people will say, I can't raise my prices, I'll lose all my customers. Well, that might be a truth, but it's certainly not accurate because we've had thousands of companies where we've raised prices. Right. And I'm like, it would take me 5 seconds to raise your prices. I mean, I'm not emotional about it. But that's the kind of stuff that he talks about. It's not about business, it's about life. And so it's about building leaders and managers and teaching managers how to actually make good decisions. So if you can get your team to sort of organize around the ideas that, hey, we're going to use data and we're going to make sure that we have a process to make a good decision, I think that strengthens the company a lot. And so I just encouraged everybody to just, grab that and read it. And I think you pulled it up, and it's an outstanding piece of literature. I would encourage everybody to read it.
Yeah. I'll definitely check it out. It reminds me, a friend of mine named Vince Pacente wrote a book called The Elephant and the Ant.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
See the scare?
Yes.
Yeah,
Canadian.
Downhill scare? Speed scare.
Yeah. I know. Speed skiing.
Speed skiing, yeah.
And great story. Mm-hmm. I won't ruin it for anybody who ever wants to read it. But he talks about the elephant and the ant. The elephant is our emotional state. Mm-hmm. The ant is our reason and logic. Mm-hmm. And you picture the ant on top of the elephant, and you get to a fork in the road. And logic, numbers, data points you're talking about say go this way, but the elephant, the emotion says I want to go over here. Mm-hmm. Who's going to win that battle? Mm-hmm. The emotion's going to win that battle. So really, really good stuff.
Yeah,
really good stuff.
Absolutely.
Any kind of final takeaways? Because I would think that, for our EGIA contractor members, right, they get, I think, one free ticket a year to this class, right? Don't they? Or one, something like that?
Yeah, each member gets admission to any class that we do live.
Yeah, including
free charge. One ticket.
I mean, so it would really, it's included in the membership. There's no fee for it. There's no expense. I mean, you got travel, obviously, but you want to come to Vegas anyway, probably, and hang out. And I know you do them all around the country.
Yeah. Orlando is when we're doing, I typically do one in Cayman, which I do and have done independently for years. Of course,
right.
That's not.
That one's not free. That one's
not
an EGIA benefit. That's a Gary Alex premium.
Well, and it is, Cayman, so there's a lot of stuff that
for his friends, but we've not been invited.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Well, actually, that's not true. Wally's been invited. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think so.
So, yeah, we teach 3, sometimes 4 a year. Wally, I would just say that a final thought is that there's not one single company that I can think of, including my own. My company comes to this 2 different times in a year. So we send split managers to it. So, 2 or 3 managers will come, and then 2 or 3 managers will come to another one. And they unify around the ideas. So I can't think of one company that I've met ever in the industry that wouldn't benefit by either having their management team or, the owners in the smaller organization to come to this type of a platform, because it's an operating plan. So all companies need some form of an operating plan. How deep you want to dive into that and how micro you want to go, that's up to you. But not having a plan is just planning to fail.
Yeah. So it definitely sounds like it's worthwhile for anybody that's trying to grow a company or build a company or just make it more profitable and something everybody could benefit. You get one free ticket, unless it's the Cayman.
Goal achievement. That's what it's all about, whatever your goals are. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for the insight, guys. As always.
Love you guys.
Love you, brother.
Ditto.
Hope you read that article.
Cheers. I will.